About 2 years ago, I went through something pretty crazy that I still think about from time to time. I was 31 years old and had been dating a woman named Allison, who was 28. We'd been together for about 6 months, and things seemed great at first. We spent most weekends together, texted all the time, and had stuff at each other's places. To anyone looking in, it looked like a normal relationship. Allison came from a very wealthy and influential family. Her father was a judge, her mother was well known in charity circles, and her brother was involved in local politics. They were the kind of family whose names were associated with prestigious buildings and organizations. As for me, I was just a regular guy working as an IT project manager, a good job, but nothing that would put me on the social radar like her family. One night, I was supposed to meet up with an old college buddy, but he canceled last minute because he had food poisoning. Since I knew Allison was out at a pub with her friends, I decided to surprise her. Big mistake. I walked into the Compass pub and immediately saw her at the bar, but she wasn't with any of her girlfriends. She was all over some guy I didn't recognize. They were kissing, hands all over each other. I was completely thrown off. I went up to them, confused and hurt, and said her name. At first, she looked surprised, but then her expression completely shifted, like she put on a mask. She asked, "Can I help you?" Like I was a total stranger. I was so stunned I just blurted, "What's going on?" The guy with her stood up and asked, "Everything okay, Ollie?" Which, by the way, she never let me call her. She didn't even hesitate. She laughed, turned to the whole bar, and yelled, "Someone call security. This creep's been following me all night." Before I could react, 2 huge bouncers grabbed me and started dragging me out of the pub. I tried to explain that we'd been dating for 6 months, but they weren't having it. One of the bouncers told me I needed to leave. As they dragged me toward the door, I looked at Allison, hoping she'd step in and say something. But instead, she just stared at me coldly and said, "I've never seen this man before in my life." And just like that, I was thrown out onto the sidewalk, humiliated in front of everyone, in the pouring rain. I didn't call her, didn't text her. I just walked away. Something in me broke that night, but not in an angry way. It was more like a cold, calculating switch flipped. For the next week, I didn't just stew on it. I started gathering evidence. I saved every text message we'd exchanged, every email, every photo we'd taken together. I even grabbed screenshots of her social media posts about me before she deleted them. I kept receipts from gifts I bought her, hotel bookings from trips we took, everything. I went deeper. I found out that while she was with me, she had been seeing 3 other guys. One was the guy at the pub, another worked at her family's law firm, and the third was some political connection through her dad. None of us knew about each other. I made copies of everything, one digital, one physical copy that I kept at my place, and one that I had professionally bound like a legal document. The final copy I mailed directly to her father at his courthouse office with a note that read, "Your daughter's character documented. This goes public tomorrow unless you and Allison meet me at my apartment at 7 p.m. I added my address and phone number. The judge called me less than an hour after receiving the package. He was furious. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he yelled into the phone. I asked him if he'd received my package and said, "This is blackmail. I could have you arrested." I calmly replied, "It's just the truth, Judge. I'm not asking for money. But if you'd rather I send this to the partners at your law firm, the Bar Association, your wife's charity board, and your kid's college admissions office, that's your call." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Finally, he spoke again, but much more subdued. "What do you want?" I gave him the same ultimatum. "You and Allison at my apartment at 7 p.m., alone, or it all goes public tonight." He hung up quickly. And, true to my word, they showed up exactly on time. When they arrived, the judge looked every bit the powerful man he was, but it was clear he wasn't in control anymore. He had been plotting to kill me. Allison looked like she had seen a ghost, pale and trembling. I kept him at the door as long as I could. "You have 5 minutes," the judge said. "Actually, I have as much time as I need," I replied, "but I'll keep it brief. Your daughter publicly humiliated me last week. She accused me of stalking her after we had been in a relationship for 6 months. She had me thrown out of a bar while she continued her date with one of the 3 men she'd been seeing behind my back. Allison tried to deny everything. "You've been stalking me," she said. But everything in that file was backed by timestamps and evidence. I cut her off. "I don't care what you say. Here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. at the Compass, Allison will publicly admit what she did and apologize to me in front of the same crowd and the same bouncers who threw me out." Allison laughed. "You're insane if you think I'll do it." Her father interrupted. "And if she does, this ends. The files get destroyed." I kept the files as leverage, but they wouldn't go public if she complied. The judge agreed, and before Allison could say anything else, they left. My phone immediately exploded with texts from Allison. "You can't do this to me. My father will destroy you. He's already threatening to fire me." I ignored them. The next night, I arrived at the bar early. The same bouncers were on duty, but they didn't recognize me. The place was packed. At 8 o'clock, Allison entered alone, spotted me, and walked over. "Let's get this over with," she hissed. "Not yet," I said. "We're waiting for someone." At 8:15, the pub guy walked in with his friends. Perfect timing. I stood up and made my way to the center of the bar. Allison followed, looking like she wanted to disappear. "Excuse me, everyone," I called, and the place gradually quieted. "Last Friday, I was thrown out of here after this woman claimed I was stalking her. In reality, we had been in a relationship for 6 months." The bouncers looked uncomfortable as whispers began to ripple through the crowd. "Your turn," I said to Allison. Her face turned bright red. "It's true," she muttered. "We were dating. I lied when I said I didn't know him, and I pushed him. I'm sorry." She practically choked on the last word. I turned to the bouncers. "She's talking about last Friday when you removed me. As you just heard, I wasn't stalking her. She was cheating and got caught. One of them actually apologized. We're done here," I told Allison and left, but I wasn't really done. That night, I sent the full file to the managing partners at her family's law firm, the Bar Association's ethics committee, and her direct supervisor. By the next morning, she had been fired. The story spread quickly within their social circles. 3 weeks later, my doorbell rang on a Sunday morning. The entire Thompson family was standing there: the judge, the father, the mother, Charity, and Allison and her 2 siblings. "May we come in?" the judge asked, looking far less intimidating than before. I let them in. "What you did was wrong," he started. "Blackmail is a crime." "I know," I admitted. I was hurt and humiliated, and I wanted her to feel what I felt. It wasn't my proudest moment, but what Allison did was wrong, too. "We didn't raise her like this," her mom said quietly. Allison sat there, staring at the floor. "You've damaged our entire family," the judge continued. "My reputation, my wife's charity work, my son's political career, my younger daughter's college applications. I only meant to hurt Allison. I said honestly, not all of you. We're here as a family," her mom said, "even when one of us does something terrible." Allison finally looked up. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "What I did at the pub was cruel. We're asking you to remove the documents from circulation," the judge said. "Allison's lost her job and her reputation. She's agreed to therapy. We just want a chance to rebuild without this hanging over our family." I thought about it for a minute. The anger had cooled, and I didn't like who I had become in all of this. "I was wrong to blackmail you," I told them. "I'll recall the documents, not for Allison, but because this whole revenge thing isn't who I want to be." They thanked me and left. I then sent emails retracting my previous statements, saying I'd shared misleading information out of personal grievance. It didn't completely clear Allison, but it gave her family some room to recover. I never saw or spoke to Allison again, but I heard she moved to another city. Eventually, the judge retired, and their family's reputation took a hit, but survived. As for me, I learned something about myself. There's a darker side to me that I never knew existed. When pushed to the edge, I was capable of calculated destruction. The revenge felt good for a moment, but afterward, I didn't like the person I had become. Yes, I regret it, both the blackmail and the damage I caused the whole family. I don't regret holding Allison accountable, though she deserved that, but I could have found a better way to do it. The judge could have pressed charges, but didn't, likely because it would have just extended the scandal and hurt his family even more. The pub incident really was that bad. Dozens of witnesses, physically thrown out, her denying she knew me. Complete public humiliation. It's hard to explain how that feels unless you've been there. 2 years later, I've moved to a different city and started fresh. Sometimes, I still think about how quickly I became someone I didn't recognize. It was a wake-up call about what we're all capable of when pushed past our limits.